In this tutorial, I am going to show you how to use the shell tool in Fusion. So let's hop over to Fusion right now and run through this. As always, let's start with a sketch. Let's go on the top here. I don't know why we're upside down. Let's turn that around. There we go. Create a rectangle, center rectangle. Let's make this thing pretty big. Let's make it 15 inches by, go 24. Let's extrude this out. Let's make it big. Let's go 12 inches tall. Okay. So we have this box and we want to shell it out. Maybe we are trying to design a cardboard box or a treasure chest, who knows, but we want to do it quickly and efficiently. And there is a very helpful tool for that, which is the shell tool. So let's click on that. We'll do a sharp shell as the shell type. Click this face. Let's make it relatively thin on the walls, 0.25. And there we are. In seconds, you have this shelled out rectangle. But there's even more you can do with this tool. So if we reopen it, let's say you want to do, instead of shelling out the interior of it, you want to create some thickness on the outside of it. So you can go from inside to outside. You can drag it out the same way. And now you can see it's starting from the original size we had and adding material to the outside of that original shape. And it gets rid of the shape that was in the middle. So now we are still creating a shell, but it's going from the original size outside. And this is very, very handy if you are trying to maybe know the size of something you want to put inside the box, but you don't necessarily know, or you don't want to design all of the box around that. You can just create whatever you are putting in the box, whatever size that is, and then create a shell around it. Okay, and now we have a very similar look, but used a slightly different process to get to it. And that's not it. There's actually even more we can do with this tool. Let's say that you want this to not necessarily be a hard-edged box like you would think of a cardboard box, but maybe one of those foam coolers that has kind of a rounded edge. Well, you can use a rounded shell and look at that. Now the edges are rounded. You didn't have to apply any additional fillets or anything else. You could simply do a rounded shell. So this is a very quick way to shell out a part and a very useful tool when you are, starting with something that you know that you want to shell out. Maybe you don't necessarily want to create additional sketches to create that shell. This tool just does it all for you. Now, I also want to show you what you can do with this shell tool in a different shape. So let's get rid of this rectangular shape. I'm going to delete the timeline, start over. Let's start with a sketch. Okay, let's go to the front, create a line. Let's see. We want a line. Actually, let's start with a circle. There we go. Let's add a size to it. Let's make it 24 inches in diameter. Now let's add a line. We want to go right through the center of this. Okay. And why is that not constrained? Let's see. Oh, it is not constrained because it's not constrained to this point. So that is a very easy fix. We'll make it coincident. There we go. Now you can see this sketch is completely constrained. Let's finish that sketch. Come up here to revolve. Select half of this, and then for our axis to revolve around, let's select that center axis, and now we have a sphere. Okay, very quick and easy way to create a sphere. And now let's say we want to shell out this sphere. Maybe we want to make something like a bouncy ball or a basketball, whatever the case might be, maybe something filled with air. So let's go back up to shell. We'll click the body. Make sure that it is selected. We will do this sharp shell. And how thick do we want this? We want it to be pretty thin. Let's do 0.05. And how do we know if it worked? Well, there's a few ways you can see if it worked. The first way would be to use the inspection tool, section analysis. We will click one of these planes to section this, hit OK, and there you go. You can see there is a very obvious thin wall right there, and the shell tool has worked. Now we have this very thin walled ball. And I haven't tried this before, but let's say you just want to be able to see the difference between these very, very easily. Let's just use a paint. Let's see. Click on paint here. Let's go glossy. We need to download a few of these. Red, let's do this. We'll do blue on the inside. Ooh, make sure instead of applying to the body, let's make sure it's applying to the face. We'll do blue on the inside and red on the outside. Okay, so that kind of helps convey what's going on here. Let's get rid of the appearance. Turn off our section analysis. We have this red bouncy ball. What else can we do with this? Well, we've also learned in a previous tutorial how to use the split body, so let's give that a shot and maybe split this in half. Let's create a sketch. Well, let's look at the front of this. Make sure it's up. Make sure it's upright right there. Okay. Let's see. Look this face. We can draw a line through this. Doesn't really matter where it starts and where it ends. This is unconstrained, but in this case, that will be just fine. Finish sketch. We have this line going through our ball. Now we'll come up here to split body. Click on our red bouncy ball. Splitting tool is this line. I like this because it kind of looks like a planet. Looks like, what is it, Saturn that has a ring around it. That's pretty fun. And we'll hit OK, and now we see the split through it. And let's see what that looks like. Let's hide one of the bodies. And here again, we have half of this. But in this case, it's not just a section analysis. We actually have two separate bodies. But what if we decide, actually, we want this to be a little bit thicker. Let's go back to our shell tool. Let's change this to 0.125. Hit OK, and now the walls of this are thicker. Honestly, I still want it a bit more. Let's go back and edit this. Let's make it 1/2 inch. There we go. And now we have this half sphere, this hemisphere, which you could use for all sorts of stuff. Maybe you're trying to design a bowl. Maybe you're trying to design one of those rubber poppers. I don't know who, if you're my age, 30s and 40s, you might remember this, where there was a little half of a ball or a hemisphere like this, and you would push one side down. It was made of rubber, and then it would pop and fly into the air, and it was a pretty fun little toy. Either way, that is the shell tool. So if you found this tutorial helpful and now you know how to use the shell tool for whatever design you are working on, and you thought this was very beneficial, please subscribe. It is incredibly helpful for me and for the channel, and it is something that you can do to show your appreciation for these tutorials. That's it for this one. Make sure you stay tuned for more tutorials coming out very, very soon.